Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Journey to Happiness. Let me tell y'all, I've been fucking going through it. I've been going through the shit. Oh, financially, it's been rough out here. It's been really rough. Um, and the thing is this, as rough as it's been, I've had to have faith. I've had to rely on God and the universe and whatever other higher power is up there to just get me to the next stage in life. And I'm a firm believer that the universe has your back. I've talked about it on previous podcasts. I'm a firm believer in faith. And I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And oftentimes we don't know what that reason is for months or sometimes years. So I wanted to start this off by saying if you are going through some shit right now, you are definitely not alone. I'm I started door dashing recently. Again, I've done it before, but like just to make extra money, just to put food on the table. Um, as most of you know, because I think I talked about it, I had to start a new job and I don't even get paid until the 8th. So I've been without a check for like a month. And I just share that because I want people to know they're not alone, because I know that there's a lot of people going through a lot of financial turmoil right now and difference in their jobs and work stuff and relationships. There's just a lot going on, like in the sky and with astrologically speaking and with the energies. And you're not alone out there. I just wanted to start with saying that. And then I don't even know where I was going. I'm just kind of letting things come through me right now. But I think I want to talk a little bit more about some spiritual awakening stuff because I think that when you go through a spiritual awakening, it is, it's easier to have faith. Okay. It's easier to have faith that everything's going to work out because you've kind of already seen signs of it before. So I've talked about spiritual awakenings before on the podcast. I have previous episodes. I don't know which episodes they were, so I'm sorry, I don't remember. And it's kind of late on Sunday night that I'm recording this because I was door dashing all day to make money, to make extra money, to put food on the table. But I know I have some other episodes called like the stages of spiritual awakening and different things like that. I have episodes called The Universe Has Your Back or Always Has Your Back, I think it's called. So you can always refer to some of those for some more tips and help with going through some of these things. So let's just start with the basics here. What is a spiritual awakening? Because I think there is a mass spiritual awakening happening on the planet. There has been since the pandemic. I think it woke a lot of people up. And so, what is a spiritual awakening? And I may have talked about this before, but we're going to talk about it again. A spiritual awakening is a dissolving of the ego. So, the ego is the brain. So, we come here in life and we we incarnate here. I used to not believe in past lives. Whether you do or not, that's up to you. That's your own belief system. I didn't know whether I believed in past lives or not. I definitely do now. I think we have several, like thousands of lives that we live. And I definitely believe in incarnating here for a purpose. And I believe that we choose our parents, we choose our life lessons. I believe that we have soul contracts. I've talked about all of this before. We sign these contracts before we ever come onto this planet. And so we have these lessons that we have to go through. And excuse me. I believe that we come here and we come here and we're like, okay, we're gonna remember, like we're literally like being born, right? And we're like, our souls are like, like we're gonna remember where we came from. And then we are born and we don't remember shit. We don't remember anything, and we go through life and we start learning, we're not really learning lessons yet, but we start experiencing these different things throughout our life, whether it's massive trauma, whether it's small t trauma, whether it's, whatever it is, it could be a good life, it could be a bad life, but everybody has trauma. I'm a big believer in that too. Everybody has trauma. I don't care how big or how small it is. We all have it. We've all went through it. And we go through these life lessons and it programs our brain. It programs our brain to believe a certain way. And that forms the ego part of the brain. Like it's the part of the brain. It's not really our soul. It's the part of the brain that is controlling everything. And we develop these personas based on our life experiences, I have never shied away from admitting to you guys I was a crazy bitch. This is why this podcast is was inspired because the other night I was talking to my kids and not kids anymore, they're adults, but I was talking to them and something had happened. And I was like, probably because of, and I was talking, they were talking about somebody else. And I said, probably because of the trauma she's experienced. And my son said to me, he said, you're always so quick to point out people's trauma. And I said, let me tell you something here. I said, yes, I'm quick to point it out, but I also own my own shit. Um, and so I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I own my own shit. I own my trauma. I own my craziness. I own the shit that I've done in the past because I was a crazy bitch. I was not a great girlfriend. I was not a great friend. I was a crazy girlfriend is what I was. I, snapped at people. I lashed out at people. I I guess subconsciously it was kind of like, I'm gonna hurt you before you hurt me kind of thing. I did this with friends. I was not, guys, I have a lot of demons and I did a lot of shit. And I own that though. And that is part of a spiritual awakening. Is part of it is owning your shit. So what is a spiritual awakening exactly? Let's just backtrack because I'm getting ahead of myself. A spiritual awakening is understanding who you are. Like it's understanding that that was just your ego. It's understanding who you are at a soul level. I've talked about this before. It's understanding like why you came here. Even if you don't exactly understand why you're here, like it's understanding that you're here for a greater purpose. It's understanding that religion is here to keep us trapped. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that churches aren't great, aren't good. Having a community is great. So I totally understand that people want to have these communities within these churches and all the things, right? But religion is literally to keep us stuck. It's to worship a man who, what was Jesus trying to tell us? What was he trying? He was trying to teach us how to live the way he did. But instead we're stuck, we're worshiping. We're stuck in these patterns of um of being indoctrined. Indoctrined. I don't know. Is that a word? I don't know. I hope you know what I'm trying to say here. But we're stuck in these patterns of that, right? Now I love Jesus. Like I love me some Jesus and I love me some God. But I think I understand what he was trying to teach us. He was trying to teach us consciousness, pure, unwavering consciousness, and how to really live from that state of consciousness, of eternal loving being, which is what we really are at the soul level. And that is what a spiritual awakening is. It is that type of concept. And anybody who tells you differently is just wrong. It's, I can just go off on tangents here, but it's just craziness to me. So that is what a spiritual awakening is. And so when the ego starts to dissolve, when the ego starts to take a back seat and it will fight tooth and nail to hang on to all of the old beliefs that you thought you had to hang on to. But that's not the case because those beliefs weren't even really your beliefs. They were beliefs that were taught to you by your family, by generations, by the churches, by society, by boyfriends and girlfriends and all the things, right? So, what happens when you go through a spiritual awakening? Well, it's not all rainbows and fucking butterflies. Like that's the first thing. It is worth it, but it's not all that. It's not all oh, I'm just going to live in the light and be this perfect human being. No, it is owning your freaking shit. It is owning everything that you've ever done. It is having to forgive all of the things out there that other people have done to you. It is understanding that they are still asleep and understanding that they also like are going through their own shit. And so they might have hurt you because they were still hurting. So another thing about a spiritual awakening, and this is one of the things that drives me crazy, but it drives me crazy because I've been there and I've done it, is oftentimes when people first awaken, they will say things like you'll see videos and like little Facebook posts or whatever where they're like, "Oh, I'm spiritually awake now. So this is how I see the world." Well, that is again a form of the ego. That is a form of like, "Oh, I'm spiritually awake and those people aren't, so I'm better than them." I went through this too. Yes, I was one of those people who was like, "Oh, I'm spiritually awake, so I'm better than these people because they're not yet." No, everybody's on their own journey. And I'm going to tell you something. Not everybody is going to wake up in this lifetime. Not everybody is going to have a spiritual awakening. Oftentimes, I've heard this question asked multiple times. Well, how do I have a spiritual awakening? Like a lot of people like want to have one, but they don't know how. You can't force it. Like you can't force a spiritual awakening. I can tell you how I went through mine, and I'll just give you a little brief overview of that. I going through the relationships that I was in, right? Going through all of the toxicity and meeting the same types of guys over and over and over and not understanding why. And finally, I've talked about it before, but after my breakup back in, early 2021, I, I was already going through some shit and I was already starting to like dive into like self-help stuff. But after that breakup, because I was a crazy bitch and we ended up splitting up, and it was basically my fault. Not that he was innocent in a lot of it, but it was me being a crazy bitch that led to a lot of it. And that led me on such a self-healing journey. And I discovered meditations and I discovered these like self-help people. And I started listening to podcasts and I discovered all of these things about myself. And I started taking accountability for a lot of the things that was happening. And one day I was just sitting in meditation and it was like energy just shot through my body. And the next thing I knew, I opened my eyes and it was literally like I was a newborn, but I was technically a grown woman, but I felt like a newborn. I felt like my old life had flashed before my eyes. I felt like my old life, it was hard to even remember what had happened in my old life because I was this whole brand new person. It didn't end there. There was a lot of shit I've still been going through the last few years, and I'm still going through shit. But that was just an example of what happened to me. But everybody's journey is different. Not everybody has the same type of spiritual awakening journey. That's just my example of what happened to me. Okay. The other thing, so things about a spiritual awakening. So another thing, so I will go back to the story about my kids and saying, like, you're quick to point out other people's trauma. It's not that I'm quick to point it out. It's that once you have a spiritual awakening, your intuition heightens to an extent that you've never experienced before. You begin to see people, you see through people. So, yes, I can look at somebody and I can kind of know how their life is. I can see their childhood. I can see the type of person they are, which I can see goodness in many people. Usually it is a good thing that I see. I can see where their trauma probably stems from. I can see a lot of things. I've had lots of friends tell me I'm psychic. I I don't use that word. I don't know why I don't use that word. Again, this could come from my life of being involved in Christianity and churches and in many of those communities. Using the word psychic is a bad thing. Many of them don't believe in that stuff because the phrase of the Bible it says, "Beware of false prophets," which is just again a phrase that was taken out of context by churches. But I don't know if that's why I don't use it. I don't know. But I can see that. I can see people's lives. I can look at them. I can feel the energy of their life. I can see the traumas. Um, it doesn't make me any better. It doesn't make me any worse. I don't consider myself better than anybody. I just think that I think that this is the case for most people when they've had a spiritual awakening. I do think that most people have this heightened sense of intuition and just an inner knowing about people. You begin to feel other people's energies. You begin to understand life more, and you begin to understand that things aren't the way we've been taught our entire lives. And you begin to understand that things aren't always the way they seem, that there is a lot of false shit out there. There's a lot of things that we learn about in society and on TV that isn't really truth, you know? My mom, I love my mom. I love her so much. She's just amazing. But she grew up in this era where you didn't talk about this stuff. Like her beliefs are so set in stone when it comes to Christianity. And she won't even talk about spirits. Like when I talk to her about like her mom still being here with her because her mom's passed away, her dad's passed away. And I talk about her mom like is still here with her or her dad, she won't even talk about it. Like it's like no, they're in heaven. Okay, yes, they're in heaven, but I believe heaven is right here. Like I it's just on a side that we can't see. It's like in the 5D dimension, right? And I'm like, do you think they don't come down to visit you? Like what? Really? You think they're not here to like help you from the other side? She won't even hear about it. And that's really hard for me sometimes because I'm like, I know I know differently and it's really hard to explain to people how you know differently. Like how can I tell somebody like, yes, your dead mother is right here with you. Like how can I tell somebody that without proof? I don't have proof, right? I can't show them proof. It's just that I know it's the truth. I know that. 1,000% I know that. Um, I mean, I guess you could even, and so it begs the question, when people don't believe in spirits or they don't believe that their past loved ones are here with them, but yet they believe in a higher power, like it's the same concept, right? Like, how do you know there's a higher power? You can't see that either, but it's just, it's a knowing, like there is a higher power, right? And I hope I'm making sense. I'm just rambling probably at this point, but I just feel like this is a subject I could talk a lot about. And I feel like it's a subject that a lot of people are curious about. And I think there's so much more out here than we really understand. I believe in higher dimensional beings, aka aliens, just for those of you who don't understand higher dimensional beings. I believe that there are spirits all around us. I know that there are spirits all around us. I know that I have guides that are on the other side. They're like literally in this room with me right now who are here to help me as long as I ask for that help. I believe in that. And I believe that some of them are people we knew or their ancestors, and some of them are people or spirits. I guess they're not really people because they're not in a human body now, but they're they're people that we never knew. But our soul is eternal. Our soul is eternal. And this body that I'm sitting in, this body that you're sitting in, it's just a vehicle. It's like driving a Subaru or a Honda or any other type of car. That's all this is. It's just a vehicle for our soul to go and experience the world, you know? When we dream, I mean, our soul travels. What do you think dreams are? It's our soul traveling to other dimensions, to other areas. Like we sleep because we're human, because we're in a human body. Like we have to sleep because our body tells us to sleep. But does the soul really sleep? The soul doesn't sleep. Like it would get very bored laying there for 8 hours a night. It would be very bored out of its mind if it had to lay there while our body rested. So, what does the soul do? The soul travels to other dimensions. The soul travels and has a grand old time partying all night long while we're sleeping. Um, yeah. So, all of the things I've just talked about, that's what happens when you have a spiritual awakening, is understanding these concepts. And it's also understanding the concepts that everything is going to turn out just fine. It's also understanding that everything happens for a reason, which I've always believed that even before I had an awakening. It's understanding that even though my life, there's parts of my life that are in complete fucking turmoil right now, financially mostly, it's mostly financial. But I also know that it's probably for my greatest good. It's happening because I need to figure shit out and I need to live my purpose. And I couldn't live my purpose before because I was comfortable. I had enough money before. A month ago, I was fine. I had plenty of money. Even though I didn't have good spending habits and there was a lot that I could have worked on better, but I know now that I never want to be in this position again. And so I know that the universe is like leading me towards something so much grander, so much better than I could ever imagine, you know? So that's what a spiritual awakening is too. It's just having faith that everything's going to work out. It's understanding there's that higher power and understanding that our soul chose to come here and experience this life for these lessons, for this purpose. And it's remembering who we are because we came here in life. The whole purpose was to come here and forget who we were so we could then eventually remember who we are. And they say that Earth is the only planet that we incarnate to that we actually forget who we are. All the other planets up there that these souls travel to, you remember who you are in those places. And so that begs the question also is why the fuck do we come here? Why do we come here? Like what are we doing? Like why do we want this life? Because they say that there are souls fighting in the ethers, in the other worlds here. There are souls fighting to come to Earth. Well, why? Like why the fuck do we want to come here? Because Earth is the greatest school of all. Because Earth is the only place that your soul can come and evolve and grow because of the lessons, because of the fact that we forget who we are, because of the lessons that we have to learn, because you can't really evolve and grow as a soul until you go through these lessons, these human lessons that we're all learning here on planet Earth. The hardest school there is. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that this will reach the people that it's meant to reach. The people who are might be going through something right now, who might be feeling broken down, who might be feeling like there's nobody listening to them, who might be feeling like they're all alone. And I just want to remind you that you're not alone. And A Course in Miracles states that if you knew who walked beside you, you would never be afraid again. And I love that quote because it's true. If you knew who was walking beside you, you might not be able to see them, but they're there. Like you would know that you are so divinely protected and you are so divinely loved. And you're not alone. I see you. I hear you. God sees you and hears you. And you have a whole entire spirit team around you seeing you and hearing you. So just remember that. And when it comes to your spirit team, you do have to ask for help because they can't just interfere in human lives. You have to ask for help. But one tidbit I do want to tell you is when you ask for help, you have to say spirit guides of the highest truth and compassion or spirit guides of divine love. Say that and they will answer your call or talk to God, talk to Jesus, talk to whatever higher power you believe in. And I do believe that miracles will unfold. So that's just my belief, and I'm sticking to it, folks. So I love you all so much. I hope this was helpful for you. And as always, I will see you again next week. I love you so much. Bye for now. Mwah.